经过了4年，我们终于在2023年呢，重新又举办了时间艺术展这个展览。那今年的这个艺术展呢，跟以往有最大的不同，就是以往6届呢，我们的主轴就是在手表、在腕表，比较特殊的独立制表。那今年呢，我们邀请了100年的做钟厂 Berthoud， 还有手工音乐盒的制造厂 Bush 一同来参展。那我想这2个。大家如果有稍微了解的，就应该会知道，他们的任何一个作品其实就是一个艺术，所以我觉得这样的组合呢，非常非常适合我们的主题，就是时间艺术展。
We just released the HM8 Mark II, which is the 4th iteration of my car-inspired story. I wanted to be a car designer when I was a kid. And I actually realized, only this year, I realized that what linked me to car design was that my dad, who didn't communicate much with me, didn't do anything with me, but he liked cars. And when I was a kid, I realized that he liked cars, so I started liking cars and I started talking to him about cars, and that I got a bit of love from my dad. And every year he would take me to the car show, and it's the only thing he ever did with me in my life. And that was a high point of me with my dad. So cars became a really important part of my life because of my dad. And so many years later, he's passed away over 20 years ago, I'm pursuing that car story. HM8 Mark II is, I actually thought when I did HM8 that the story had finished. And that was in 2016 or something like that. And so it took me 7 years to suddenly realize that story is not finished. I want to write something else. And so we redesigned completely the HM8 to this Mark II, which doesn't look at all like the original, but we kept the same movement. But that was really, it's how do you keep the same movement and create a completely different animal? So that was really interesting. All sorts of novel innovations, this incredible double bubble sapphire which we created, the crown which is a world premiere, the carbon macrolon which is incredibly complex to machine, but it's so cool. So yeah, the story wasn't finished. I'm not going to tell you that it's the last, even though in my mind it is, but because you never know. Maybe in 5 years I'll come back and be telling you, I've now done HM8 Mark III, and it's going to be even cooler. But for the moment, it's the last of the story.
The other things is about the HM11. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So that's in 2 months. It's an incredibly important piece for us. It's the first completely new HM since the Bulldog, which was launched in March 2020. So it's 3.5 years. It's an incredibly complex piece. It's coming from a new world that I'm exploring. So it's not my childhood anymore. Okay. So it's a pivot here. There's something very different you'll see in design, in concept. It's an HM which looks like no other HM before. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it, not only technically, but because I basically reinvented myself on that piece. And it's not easy, an old dog to start new tricks, but there I really invented something new.
Yeah,
so it's going to be.
See it.
For the Mirrored resonance, so generally the resonance is a topic that has a really long history in the watch, in doing watches with old watchmakers. It started with a double pendulum clock. Breguet was experimenting with the resonance, and we figured out that it really brings an advantage to the time accuracy, to the time consistency. So what we do is we build the 2 balance wheels not only close to each other, we physically connect them with a clutch spring, a so-called the clutch spring. And this, because of the clutch spring, we have a very stable resonance. It's not in and out of resonance, a very stable resonance, and that's the most important thing for resonance. And there's a lot for us, for the team, myself, it's really interesting to deep into the topic of resonance. There's so much, as I said, there's really an advantage for the watch itself. And I always say for Armin Strom it's a perfect complication because it looks very nice also from the front. There's a dial side animation, and when you look at our timepieces, we all have these open worked movements, open worked dials, so you can see something going on the front side of the watch, the 2 balance wheels moving, the spring going back and forth. That's why for me it's really the perfect complication for Armin Strom.
Wow, very nice.
And then the green dial, I mean, green is a color which everybody talks about green at the moment, also with watches, but we chose a very special green. So we got inspired by old machines. We still use them in our workshop, these old mechanical machines. They used to be coated, painted with this green color. And so we took this green color for the dial.
What are the key factors influence the synchronizing speed and the duration of maintaining the resonance state and the mechanism? And what are the design advantages of Armin Strom?
So the key factors are clearly the connection, the physical connection. So we figured out if you have two balance wheels just connected with the main plate, there's also vibration going on. So it needs a communication from one balance wheel to the other balance wheel and back and forth. This can happen to the base plate with the vibration on the base plate, or what we do, we have this extra added frequency, the third frequency, the so-called clutch spring. And with this we get the rate stability, and it's all about rate stability when it comes to resonance. Yes.
So why is I know Armin Strom is the only few who can do resonance watches in the market, right?
Yes, there's FB Schurn. He has a resonance watch invented in I think in the year 2000. He has the concept of building them close each other. We added the third frequency to have a stable resonance connection. Yes.
Make it even nicer.
For me, as technically, I think it's more stable. We had really long. We worked with the CSCM in Neuchâtel in Switzerland, so they helped us to improve and really prove that resonance is happening. At the end, we have to prove, not just visually with the spring going back and forth. They really can measure it, that resonance is happening within our watches. Yeah.
And the test results were very good.
And the test results are good. Yeah, they are proved by the CSM, officially proved by an external official agency.
Very nice.
The FB2T is the final edition of the very first movement we introduced in 2015, the Fusée and Chain with tourbillon displaying a central second. As we have now produced a little bit more than 100 watches with this caliber, it was time to say goodbye to this original movement and to propose this very limited edition of 38 movements with this FB2T collection that can be tailor-made to the taste of the collectors.
Oh, they can be tailor-made?
Yes, that's why we limit this collection to the movement and not to the watch. And they can choose the case material they want, the dial color, and the movement color in terms of finishing, making the watch very personal.
Nominate in this year the Grand Prix, the men's
it
watch.
Participate, yes, this is the FB3 SPC, is the third pillar of our collections, and this is a watch that integrates for the first time a cylindrical hairspring officially chronometer certified by the IWST in a wristwatch. It's like a marine chronometer that you wear on the wrist.
IWST is a great moment of, in French you say collégialité, of gathering, where we are all friends, all of us independent watchmakers. We've been friends in tough times, and we're even more friends in easy times, because all of us now have so many orders, we don't know what to do, we've got waiting lists everywhere, but even when it was tough, we were friends. And you know why? Because we cannot survive all alone.
It's great. I think what Laurie and the team is doing here is fabulous. I really like the environment.
It's a very qualitative and very interesting exhibition. That's something I recommend for the collectors to come and to have a chance to see all these marvelous timepieces here.
我觉得独立制表这3-4年吧，在台湾突然好像雨后春笋。然后进来的品牌也变得丰富性很多，觉得会让更多人有机会去接触到独立制表这一块这个领域。